Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Yesterday was PMQs, of course. It's a Wednesday, so it's the one day a week when Rishi has to get up and answer to the other MPs in Parliament. And of course, it always is an excellent opportunity for him to put down the SNP. And of course, he did. Old Stephen Flynn gets up and makes some comments about independence and things like that, and the need for an independent Scotland, blah, 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 blah. All the usual old rubbish that Beryl comes up with. And in an excellent response, and it's one that hasn't happened for a while. He's been on the back foot recently, I think, with the pressures of the job. But yesterday, Rishi got up and responded very well to Beryl, and he said that Scotland, and the SNP in particular, needed to stop obsessing over independence and stop trying to lock up JK Rowling. And, of course, the Commons erupts in laughter. And you could see the embarrassment on Stephen Flynn's face. He really didn't like the response. So that was a good thing. So we'll take a look at this very quickly. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. It was just that there was this lovely response to it. But let's have a quick look at that, because it's always nice to put Flynn in his place. Of course, his place should be at the back of the dole queue. And come the next election, that's very likely going to happen. Here goes. So, there we are. Rishi Sunak accuses SNP of trying to lock up JK Rowling with their hate crime law. And more on that vote yesterday, later today. So keep an eye out for that one. And you don't want to miss it, so do hit the subscribe button if you're yet to subscribe. Massively helps the channel. As indeed does pressing the like button, so also do that. The Tory Prime Minister told MPs the Nationalists should stop obsessing about independence and indeed wasting time cracking down on free speech. Which of course they are, and they don't like you saying things that they don't like. You've got an approved list of sentences. These are the things you're allowed to say. It is very Orwellian in Scotland at the moment, and the sooner you can change your government and get your freedoms back, the better. Rishi Sunak has accused the SNP of trying to lock up JK Rowling with its new hate crime law. The Tory Prime Minister told MPs the Nationalists should stop obsessing about independence and indeed wasting time cracking down on free speech. He was referring to the Scottish Government's new hate crime law, which came into place at the beginning of the month and has been criticised by the Harry Potter author. It's been criticised by everybody, let's be honest, but she, of course, was standing up for the rights of women and children and is increasingly becoming the absolute saviour heroine of Scotland. And God bless her. God bless her and all who ride in her. She is giving voice to people who have no voice, and that is always a good thing when you stand up and tell the truth to power. They don't like it, but hey, what can they do? She's got better lawyers. Sunak was speaking in response to Stephen Flynn during PMQs on Wednesday afternoon. The SNP Westminster leader asked Sunak about comments by the former Labour leader, Gordon Brown, on independence earlier this week. Brown had told the FT, in the long run, the forces pulling apart are greater than the forces holding it together unless something is done about it. I don't think so, because the polls always show that unionism is stronger than independence. And as time goes on, that will become increasingly so, because all the morons on the SNP will eventually realise how awful the SNP are, and they can see the destruction. Just look at the state of Scotland after 17 years of SNP rule. Imagine Britain wasn't there, the rest of Britain wasn't there to pull you out the fire. You'd be bankrupt, you'd be knocking on the door, be third world, begging bowls. Flynn told MPs a former Prime Minister who oversaw a financial crash before being unceremoniously tossed from office told the public the truth. Who's he looking at here? Because there's been a lot of them. That description is very, very apposite for a lot of them. And he said, and I'm not referring to that one because on Monday, Gordon Brown told the people of these isles that the forces pulling Britain apart are greater than the forces holding it together. So maybe the Prime Minister, he says, can find some time this afternoon to perhaps agree with just one of his predecessors. Sunak climbed to his very short feet and said that he and Brown agreed very strongly that Scotland would be far stronger inside the UK. Flynn raised comments from the Scottish TUC General Secretary Ros Foyer in his reply. That's been going on this week. There's been some funny odd stuff coming from the Stuck, hasn't there? Foyer told the Daily Record independence remains unresolved and that it can be a very dangerous place to end up in when you're not allowing people to express their wishes in a democratic manner. Flynn said, so may I ask the Prime Minister, does he welcome their fulsome, wholehearted and warm support of the Labour Party in denying the people of Scotland that opportunity to have a say over their own future? And Sunak replied, we did have a democratic vote on that topic, because of course they did, and that referendum resolved the issue for a generation. The only problem is that the SNP cannot accept that they lost. They don't like democracy. Ultimately, for the SNP, democracy sucks because they're always going to lose. Sunak continued. He said, what I would suggest to the SNP is rather than obsessing about independence and indeed wasting time cracking down on free speech and trying to lock up JK Rowling, he should focus on what the people of Scotland actually care about. Schools, hospitals, jobs and our new tax cuts. And that's it, because the SNP taxes up. They're not creating jobs. The hospitals are destroyed. The schools are falling apart. The roads are just like the surface of the moon. Nothing is working. Comms, transport, you name it. And there's a video coming up later, another one. There's a whole new, I think, row, can of worms, disastrous foreboding coming over plans to nationalise the bus service in Scotland. And let me tell you, it's already dead on arrival. But it's going to be worth looking at that video just to show how bad and mad the SNP are over this. Anyway, Rowling hit out the new hate crime law on the day it came into place, and she challenged the police to arrest her for calling trans women men. Police said they would not arrest the writer. And by not arresting her, the police have said that it's okay to call trans women men, because they are men. And so we all can now. There's no hate crime in calling a bloke who wears a frock a man. He's a man in a frock. Anyway, I'll round off there. We'll come up and we'll finish the video. Told you it wasn't a long one. Of course, PMQs yesterday. Hopefully old Penny Mordaunt will be up and having a go today at old Brocky. I do think that that's always a good little hit. So I'll keep an eye on the Penny Mordaunt one today when the business leader of the House does her business questions. But it is always good to see the SNP put in their place, and yesterday was no different, and hopefully, as I say, today will be just the same. But do keep an eye out for those two videos coming later, one about the buses, of course, and one about the hate bill, which we will cover. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.